If we could get Bernie Sanders, that would be awesome. But it won't happen.
Right.
We could probably hold on.
Right.
Let me do my research.
Yeah.
Seems like a pretty cool guy.
Because
Exactly.
if he were to be like, it's the awkward side hug,
Yeah.
It's now time to bring to your attention that I need you to watch the awkward side.
The awkward side hugs views in the top 1%.
Hello, friends. It's Steven and the gang, and we're the awkward side hug. And we got Lex back from Disneyland. Lex is looking good, a little tan. He's been in a couple lines. I think he just got out of one line not too long ago. That's how long he's been in lines. So welcome back, Lex. And Brian, looking over there smiling. They're just really excited because I just introed the podcast right now. They weren't expecting it. And so, new year, new me.
You're
let's
the
get it
Chinese
going,
New
man.
Year, or what's up?
Let's go. Yeah, dude. If you were able to catch a peek of our interview with William Hung, I mean, the guy was inspirational. He really spoke some words of wisdom, and here I am, man. So happy New Year, William.
He changed the awkward side hugs life. If awkward side hug had a life form, he changed it.
He totally just turned us on the right track.
Yes.
So
shouts out to William Hung. I was, of course, in Disneyland, unfortunately. A little offended. I saw it in Brian's eyes. He was like, oh, we have someone much better. And, I was a little hurt, but understood because that interview was legit. It was so awesome to see, William Hung in his in true form. So that was awesome.
But we brought you back, Lex.
Yeah. Because William didn't respond.
William was busy for this episode.
Yeah. No, that was a dope one. I'm glad that happened. But yeah, I was, man, Star Wars, Rise of the Resistance, amazing. Disneyland, Galaxy's Edge, worth it. Baby Yoda, it was a great time.
That's a dope hat.
Thank you. I love it.
Yeah,
I didn't notice what that hat was until 2 seconds ago when the sun wasn't hitting it
right there.
Dead on. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you guys want to start off with a small event segment?
Small events, yeah.
I really don't, Lex, but it sounds like you're about to just run right through what I want.
Is it really a small event though?
It's a big event in our lives.
It's pretty big, yeah.
It's probably a huge event in Brian's life, I would say. But we're gonna start it season 2 of Awkward Side Hug, where we're incorporating small events because everyone does big events. So small event yet big event. Brian turned 30 years old over this
Brian just realized that he wasted another decade of his life.
Right.
And Lex and I are on that same path. So
it's interesting because I think you naturally feel like you've wasted a decade, but if I really think about it, I've probably done a lot in at least the last 5 years in terms of my education.
So the fourth Mike wants to know, what was the best experience in that decade, and what was the, I don't want to say the worst experience, but what could you have done without in that 10-year span?
Is it raining outside?
It is.
Okay.
It's supposed to rain today, yeah.
I was like, what's making so much noise outside? I would say the best experience would probably be at this point is probably meeting my girlfriend. And because going back to the worst experience, and I guess we're getting it personal, who cares? I'm just going to do it. I think this is good for the podcast. Is I wasted an entire year of my life for somebody else at one point in the same decade. And I was not too fond of that. And it made me very hesitant to do the same for anybody else. And then being able to find somebody else on the tail end of the decade that I feel like I'm not wasting my time with.
Respect.
That's a good response.
Respect. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I'm going to throw a couple of good times. We won 2 championships together.
Yes.
Right?
So it wasn't a total waste.
we both got 2 fantasy championships, not together, but I mean in the same league.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Lex, I didn't mean to offend you. And then I mean, you got to coach high school basketball.
Yeah,
Which I'm not gonna lie, like that was a little bit. I was a little bit jealous that you got to do that.
That was a bucket list thing, and
That's good. That's good.
I'm not saying I'm done doing that, but right now I am. Also, I got technically 3 degrees at the tail end of it. Literally at the tail end of December 2019, I got finished my master's at USC, and I got my diploma in the mail yesterday. I pull it out, but it would take about a minute out of
Pull it out.
Pull it out. Pull it out.
Pull it out.
He's like, ah! Brian climax.
Yeah. I know, like, Lex was annoyed that I didn't tell anyone it was my birthday.
Yeah, Brian does this
I
every
actually
year.
wrote it down. I wrote it down in my calendar. So.
And here's the thing: it's because of Steven why we all remembered that it was Brian's. So it was because of Steven, because of me, right? So Steven, like 2-3 weeks ago, was like, "Hey, when's Brian's birthday again?" I'm like, "Oh, it's actually coming up. It's on the 18th." He's like, "Okay." So I guess Steven wrote it down on his calendar. So then the 18th comes, and then like I'm like several hours into the 18th, and Steven's like, "Oh, happy birthday, Brian." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot. I legit forgot. If it wasn't for Steven, I would have forgot like the entire day."
Brian tried to fly under the radar, dude. Come on.
He does that every year.
Do you guys want to know the history of why I do this every year?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it from the horse's mouth.
So it's a mixture of different events, and then one day I just decide this is
Take out your degree while you're talking.
Yeah. Imagine that'd be like an awesome flex. Dude,
Flex,
okay,
but okay.
Explain the. This is gonna be awesome for like the clip. Explain the.
Wow.
I'm trying to get it to fit. All right.
Masters, Southern California. That's awesome, dude.
That's great.
That's awesome. That's inspiring. But okay, explain the Brian's birthday ideology while holding up your master's degree.
Oh, you want me to still hold it up?
Yeah.
Want me to just hold up the envelope now?
Or the degree. I think it'd be beautiful for the clip.
Okay. So so there's about 5 to 6 years ago I was at work, and this is when I was probably at the height of my popularity in just terms of life. I just had a lot of friends on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even just text message. And I remember by the time I would get out of work on my birthday, my phone would die because I would just keep getting notifications. Now I have a better phone now, so that probably wouldn't happen now. And I have a lot less friends. So,
by choice.
But so I first deleted my Twitter. I believe I deleted that first, just because, to be honest, I've posted some stuff as a young adult that I shouldn't have probably, and I thought now that I'm getting more professional with my life, I should delete some of the stuff. So I deleted my Twitter, and then right before my birthday was coming up, I thought a nice social experiment would be, well, if I deleted my Facebook and Facebook didn't tell people it was my birthday, how many people would actually wish me happy birthday? And so it was just a social experiment I did that
for 10
year.
years.
Yeah.
Basically.
And also I felt like I had to delete it. So it was kind of like I was knocking 2 birds with 1 stone or whatever. And but yeah, and then ever since then though, like, now that my birthday has become a lot more low key, like, I know I'm not a dad yet, but this is kind of very dad of me. Since my birthday has become low key, I've actually enjoyed it a lot more. And to be honest, like, it's been cool because people are not constantly hitting me up like, what are we doing for your birthday and stuff like that. Because usually I just want to chill. I think it's an excuse for me to chill every year. I could always go out for other people's birthdays if I need to go out. Yeah, and stuff like that. Usually I just want to watch. Usually I just want to watch some wrestling or something, or go to Bakersfield to watch some wrestling with my boys.
Yeah,
that's probably one of my top birthdays of all time.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
You know what's my favorite part is I forgot that you were holding up the master's degree for a second.
You're like, hey man,
right?
Your shots.
It started to blend in, right?
Yeah, it just became normal.
The angle of your shots, weird. Why are you in the corner of your screen?
Oh man, that's awesome. I mean, well, I get it. That's the thing. Even as he did it every year, I got it. Like it was a Brian thing. But me being Lex, I hated it.
Right.
But it's so funny because it was when he really started it, which was like 3 years ago. I think me, Brian, and my neighbor Alex, we randomly went to a movie, and we were sitting through the previews, and one of the big like Avengers movies or something like that. It was like June 22nd, right? Coming June 22nd, and this was in February. And I was like, oh, June 22nd, that's 3 days before my birthday. And I was like, I turned to Brian. He's like, don't say a word. Because it was like we were literally, we went to the movies on like February 16th or something like that, 2 days before Brian's birthday. So when I saw the movie preview for the thing that was like 2 days before my birthday, I was like, that's when I put two and two together. And then like he gave me the whole spiel after we got to the movies in the parking lot. It was all dark. For some reason, Brian like sounded like he owed someone money. Like, you don't tell anyone, or owed somebody money. And yeah, so it was hilarious.
It's interesting to me because I feel like by now people would naturally be like, all right, well, just mark that somewhere because Brian's being a dick about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it the first year. It was very fun. I think it's like a little game I play to myself, and it's funny whenever people figure it out there during the day. I tell them like, hey, if you're gonna post about it or just say something, just kind of wait till like 11 p.m. or something like that. And yeah, and then I remember when Steven figured it out, and like 5 people figured it out, or like 10 people figured it out. I just told my girlfriend at the time, like, all right, you can post now. Enough people figured it out. And
hey, babe, yeah, you can post it.
and then and then like the awkward the awkward
It's the awkward side hug, huh?
the awkward side hug. I was like, we could post it now too if you guys want.
Dude, I snitch every year. As soon as I remember, I just like snitch just because out of the anxiety I had like 2 days before his birthday. Of like, he wasn't gonna tell anybody.
Which me and Lex are the total opposite because Lex will count down his birthday starting like
exactly.
So
it's funny too because I think the reason why I still managed was because the first year you were like, all right, you don't post anything until 11:59 p.m. I was like, all right, cool, just to see. I was like, all right, we'll do the social experiment for that year. And yeah, like who remembered?
No one.
Nobody, right? Literally nobody remembered. Yeah. And I posted it at 11:59 p.m. and everyone everyone's like, come on, man. Like we're like, and you know what I noticed? Because of that first year, people are naturally remembering, and like even like cool friends that we haven't seen in a while, like Shrapnel, I saw posted on your page like right away, like in the morning.
Random.
Yeah,
I was kind of annoyed because like, why would he do that out of everyone I know? I haven't talked to him for probably over a year.
Yeah. And it's so I loved that he remembered too. So like you could tell like people are remembering just because like, all right, we know Brian's a dick, and I'm gonna remember his birthday.
Because I naturally remember people's birthdays and stuff like that. So it's like,
if you want to piss Brian off, just tell him happy birthday on his
on his birthday. Yeah.
if you want to piss me off, just be really nice to me.
Yeah. Oh man, that's hilarious. No, I respect your explanation though. It makes sense, and it's at the end of the day, you get to enjoy your birthday every day because of it for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
So before we jump ship to the next topic, so now that you're 30, right, and your back's starting to hurt, your knees are a little weak in the morning.
I have a spaghetti on my sweater.
What is the one thing, your one like giant goal for your 30, 30
to be
30s,
financially.
30. I don't know what I was doing.
So my thing that I kind of regret, because I feel like I've accomplished a lot of things in my last decade, but the thing I didn't accomplish was to be financially comfortable. And doesn't mean I have to be rich, doesn't mean I have to have a lot of money. It just means I want to be financially comfortable where I could go to the grocery store and just pick up something and not look at the price and stuff like that. I could just get it because I need it. My goal for my 30s is to finally reach that level of being financially comfortable. And USC is going to make that really fucking hard.
He's like sleeping with a blanket of hundreds.
I'm going to finally feel financially comfortable, and then I'm going to get that student loan debt request, and
The
I
monthly bill.
I ruined the rest of my life for this.
Yeah. Hey, Brian just held up like what, like 80K.
Yeah. Damn.
Oh, that's wild, fam. Freaking. So yeah, let's get into a fourth mic question then.
Right.
Which one do you guys want to get into? There's two of them. First.
No, the first.
Whatever you want to argue about first.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve's ready, dude.
Yeah. Let's do the
he
crying
looks
one.
like, he looks like an umpire for like a little league game before he puts the gear on. Like,
I make a good point. Steven's like, strike. Oh man. But yeah, like so we asked the fourth mic. What was it? Something about crying?
okay, so what movie or TV
Hey, what'd you
show?
ask him? Cry? Yeah, you cry.
Hey, you crying?
Yeah, good side.
Hey, pocket car.
He's gonna pocket.
What TV show or movie has made you cry? And I thought this would be interesting because we're three adult males,
Yeah.
and I brought this up in the pre-show is that we were. I'm not saying our parents specifically did this, but society did this. Like you weren't supposed to cry as a young boy growing up. Now you're supposed to cry. Like if you don't
it's
cry,
a 90s thing. I think we all grew up that way. Where we're
so
all kind of old school.
yeah, I thought it was a very interesting topic because it does show like a vulnerable side to people, and we're just using movies and TVs instead of like personal experiences.
Mhm.
So, do you guys have any? Because I got a few because I'm the one who.
Well,
came
let's
up with
read
the
some of
question.
the let's read some of the answers from the
Yes.
Okay,
from the
so
fourth mic.
Let's do
one of them. Do you guys have them? Because I have them.
Yeah,
Okay, you can read them.
Okay, I don't know if there's more this morning, but I have them from last night.
Okay.
So I have. This one was interesting because of the person posted it. I'm not going to name names,
Mm-hmm.
but we know this person really well. American Me.
Yeah.
Wait, was it American Me or American History X?
American Me.
It was
Oh,
American,
American Me. That's a good
Yeah.
movie. I didn't
Yeah.
cry in that movie, but it's a good movie.
Me. Pay It Forward. I haven't seen that.
That just off the movie title alone, it sounds like a movie that would like make people cry.
Right.
Pay It Forward. I
I'm
looked
sure
at the
this.
synopsis, and yeah, it looked pretty good.
Yeah.
What's the synopsis say?
It's about like this social studies teacher gives a project to their kids or to his kids, like in the class, of like how to change the world by being kinder. And so he starts like a pay it forward type thing, and then it makes like this big impact in a small town. And
Okay.
it sounds like a cheesy crying.
I'm all crying.
I'm sure this one's a joke, but maybe it's true. Maybe something happened on the show. Friends.
Friends is a joke. I'm just kidding.
I'm not gonna lie. Like I don't.
Not the biggest fan.
Yeah, that's a hill I'll die on. I don't think Friends was that good.
Yeah. I'm sure Brian can relate to this next one.
WrestleMania 30. I didn't cry. One of the things I cried to was related to this, but maybe this is true. I don't know if they meant this, but yeah, maybe when Daniel Bryan finally won the championships. This is probably like after a decade of John Cena burying everybody.
Yeah.
This was a big deal in the wrestling community. Was when Daniel Bryan won the WWE championship.
Yeah.
And held both titles up at the end. And then The Pianist.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it either. I heard it was a good movie.
Do you guys have more, or was that it?
That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
So, do you want me to start?
Yeah, you can start.
So, when I was 10 years old, when you're really not supposed to cry, I watched this movie called Brian Song, and it's about Gale Sayers and the backup running back. They're both drafted the same year. And this is based on a true story. They both got drafted to the Chicago Bears, and they're both competing for the same spot. Obviously, Gale Sayers, who's one of the best running backs of all time, won the job. And then the backup running back, right when he's finally able to get some playing time, he finds out he has cancer. And he's going. I don't want to know. This is spoiler territory.
Yeah, dude.
But I guess I'll just move to the part where I cried. Gale Sayers finds out like, hey, your boy's about to die, your best friend or whatever, and he goes outside to like kind of just like see what he's up to, and the guy is trying to get back in the NFL as a kicker because he can't physically be a running back anymore. And he's like, yeah, I've been working on my kicks because I plan to be a kicker soon and stuff like that. I'll be back in the NFL. We'll be playing again soon. And Gale Sayers, you can just see on his face, says like, yo, his boy's about to die. And then I cried. I cried in front of my parents. I was embarrassed. And as an adult, I cry a lot more now. When Stuart Scott died and SportsCenter started showing his highlight, they did a whole episode of just like highlights and his speech at the ESPYs.
Mm-hmm.
I was bawling.
Balling.
When they did the documentary on the WWE Network about Daniel Bryan's retirement, he's come back since, so maybe I wouldn't cry if I watched it now.
Yeah.
But when you really thought his career was over, and he knew, and you knew,
Dang, they set you up.
and he didn't want to retire. You know, maybe they did. Maybe it was his work. I still think Chris Benoit's work.
Oh,
come on, no.
gosh.
And I feel like there's another one but those are probably the top three where I feel like I've cried the most. And the two of them are kind of realistic. So I think that's a good segue into Steven's argument on this.
And I was gonna say, like, if somebody passes away, like, crying is normal. Like, you
Is
know.
it? I don't know. You seem like
And hey, I cry. I'll be honest. I cried when I heard Kobe died, dude.
Yeah.
So
That's wild.
But yeah, when somebody like the Gale Sayers and not Daniel Bryan, the Scott Stewart thing, like those are real people. But like the whole Daniel Bryan thing,
Scott
I mean that's a
Stewart.
real person too. But
I thought for a second we're gonna let that slide, but I was like, no, we shouldn't.
what?
Scott Stewart.
Scott.
Yeah, Stuart Scott.
You're good. You're good.
My mind's I got like 6 thoughts in my head right now.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh, shit.
So anyways, so the whole Daniel Bryan thing, and like now looking back at it, like you said, you wouldn't cry. So, but like when it comes to like just movies, fictional movies, you know, I'm the king of my emotions, and so like when things happen and
That's tight.
and when things happen, I know like this is a movie, dude. Like I'm not gonna cry over
Dang,
this.
dude.
Like,
Steven
when
can't
Bambi's
suspend,
mom died,
disbelief.
I didn't cry, dude.
When whose?
I said when Bambi's mom died, I didn't cry.
Oh, damn, dude, you're heartless.
I'll tell you this though, I almost cried in Coco.
Oh yeah, same.
So
Same. I've had to like hold back so hard because like I have to force myself to hold back with Coco because
So-
I've heard all the rave about it beforehand. How
right.
it's the saddest movie ever. So I watched it twice, and oof.
And you know,
Yeah,
what's
it's
funny
hard.
is, so I've heard a lot about Coco, and I haven't watched it yet for that reason because I'll be, I'm not ready to cry tonight.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
I will. I've become soft as an adult.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? Up. So I didn't cry during Up, but I knew like it was a really sad, emotional movie from what people told me before I watched it. But they kind of just knock it out at the beginning, and then you're cool
Yeah.
for the rest of the movie. And I didn't
Yeah.
think it was going to be like that.
Yeah.
So,
Well, like I feel like in general, like I don't know if you guys have seen the iPad commercial where like the little girls make a slideshow of their grandpa and grandma,
mhm.
and the grandma passed away, and it's
Yeah.
like sad music the whole time. Like, come on, Apple, like don't play on people's hearts for just selling an
Yo.
iPad, dude. Like,
Steven Wild, man.
or even the Google commercial, where like it's the old man and he's like talking about his wife, and he's like, Google, remember this is so and so's favorite thing, and it's like, dude, come on, don't. You guys are trash. Like for playing, you guys are playing on people's heartstrings to sell a product. Like, come on.
Yo, man. Steven's like the most anti-capitalist guy I've ever seen.
The top 1%.
Yeah. The top 1%.
What about you, Lex?
Wild. It's so funny because I'm usually really good at like maintaining emotion during movies and TV shows as well. But for some reason, like over the past like year or two, like when I started getting into like watching every Avengers movie from the beginning, like even like the Captain America's. Iron Man's.
Why are you laughing?
Because I thought you were gonna say something where like just go. I'm a bad guy. I'm sorry. I'm a bad guy.
Bad guy. For some reason, like they all do a good job of putting that like tearjerker at the end of the movie. Like for example, like the Captain America one where like he's like in the 40s or whatever when Captain America is going down on the ship and he's trying to like radio back to like the love of his life or whatever, his crush. He's like he's like, remember me or something like that, and she's like, Steve, and like when the thing goes radio silent, I was just like, I was just like in my room all by myself right here, and with Jesse, and so, but
no pants on, but a biker jacket.
Just a biker jacket, no clothes on. For some reason, like every freaking Avengers movie, like did it, but for me, like every time I think back to like the one TV show or the one episode that did it for me, is that, like ironically enough, like Steven made a joke about it in the pre-show, but it's How I Met Your Mother, and it was like season 6, episode 6, and I remember the whole episode was about like how like Marshall and Lily, like a married couple, wherever they're trying to have a kid, and they're starting to think that Marshall's like infertile or something like that, or not,
Right, yeah.
so that they can't have a kid because of him. Yeah, sterile. And so like the whole episode is like, you know, it's like the urgency is like, oh shoot, like it's my fault, right? Marshall thinks. And then it is until like the end of the episode when he goes to the doctors or whatever, and then they figure out that he's good, right? So like, oh, like we just got great news, because that was like the anxiety of it, is that like they're waiting on the doctor's like final results, and the doctor said, no, you're good, just, you know, it's a normal thing, like if that it isn't always on the first try. So then he like exits the bar or whatever, like trying to like look for his wife Lily, like Lily, blah blah, and then like Lily gets out of a cab like in tears, and he's like, what's wrong? And then she's like, Marshall, it's your father, and like I guess his father passed away. I was like, no. So it's so crazy because the way the show was written, the whole like anxious part is the sterile part, but then like once like Marshall's finally happy that he can have kids, he finds out that his father passed away, and I was like, fuck.
I'm not gonna lie. I remember watching the episode, and I didn't cry, but I was pretty soft.
Yeah, like literally every single time, like I cry. It's so bad, and like I'm rewatching it again right now, and like it's heading to that episode. I'm just like,
I do like it's a hit or miss, but when I watched the 30 for 30 on Jimmy V and the championship run, and then it also cuts into parts when he had his cancer and his SB speech. I'll admit, like, I'll watch it like 5 times over a course of maybe 2 years or whatever, and maybe at least twice I'll start crying or getting teary-eyed a little bit, but then the other 3 I'm okay. It just depends on the mood of my day.
Yeah. But, it's like, cancer cannot touch my heart. It cannot touch my, or what is it like? Oh, like when he like lists the things at the end. Like,
it's funny because in the 30 for 30, like, so they show all the SB stuff, but like then they also show like other speeches where he's like super passionate, and then like. One of the moments it's like weird is like every year before he would make the NCAA tournament or whatever, I guess his dad would put a suitcase up in the room, and he would say like, my bags are packed so I could go see you win a championship. And he even did it when he was in coaching at other schools that obviously wouldn't win. And it was like really cool. Like,
that's crazy.
And it reminded me of like, cause like my dad last year, when I was coaching at Brea, he would go to my games, and like as an adult, I'm like, you don't have to like come support me anymore, you know? But like he doesn't anyways.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man.
That's wild, dude.
We don't know. We don't know if you were. I was gonna say we don't know if you're crying because your dad's there or if you're losing by 40.
Those were tough games.
Yeah, dude, I could tell, man.
Oh man.
I could tell because at that stage it's not entirely your fault anymore as a coach. It's right, like the kids have responsibility in losing.
Right. That's something that was a tough pill I had to swallow at a certain point. And like halfway through the season, I was just like, you know what? Yeah, this is just a circumstance. And there was teams that we were beating by like 30 or 40.
Yeah.
There's teams that were just like, you know, we can't do anything when like everyone's 5 inches taller. And,
basically.
And gets recruited by schools, and it's just like, it is what it is. Yeah. But let's get into the last topic.
All right, so the last topic.
So don't cry to fictional movies.
Yeah. Does your vote matter? What was the percentage on that, actually?
I'm pretty sure no was leading last time I checked, but yeses got somewhat closer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I'll admit I put yes, my vote matters, but I feel like without explanation, it's a little different because if you actually hear me talk about politics and stuff, last time I checked, it was 33% yes, 67% no. So if you feel like if we're just talking the grand scheme of things, like your presidential vote, I'll admit, like as a Californian, I don't think my vote matters in the electoral college and all that jazz. Maybe if I lived in Ohio or something in a swing state, maybe I'd feel like my vote matters a little bit more. But there's a lot more to election season than just voting for a president. And you could vote for things in your county, your city, in your state, and all this is a popular vote, and it's also based on your region. And I feel like your vote does matter when it comes to those kind of things. Even voting for your governor, voting for mayor, stuff like that, city council, stuff like that, school boards, all that stuff matters. And I think that's why it's important to show up to vote, or at least do a mail-in ballot. I do think it's very important. But at the same time, I get when it comes to the grand scheme of like presidential stuff and electoral college, I get if you're like discouraged by that. I am too. I'll admit that.
I think
But
people, when you say vote, they think of the biggest vote in the country, not really your like local vote,
right.
right?
So like, I'm pretty sure most of the people who voted on that thing were just thinking like, yeah, when the next election comes and hopefully it's Bernie and
Steve.
and Donald Trump, people. But I think it's interesting. We saw what happened and some electoral colleges do base their votes on the popular vote in that state or region. They don't have to, but some of them do. And so I do think when the next election comes and it's something similar, and how the last election went, I think more people will feel like their vote does kind of matter. I personally don't. We're in a blue state. It's going to stay blue. I don't see how our vote's going to matter necessarily, but in other parts of the country, I think it does.
In Mexico? I'm just kidding.
And that's just going into like non-conspiracy, like, is the system fixed? Are Russians
I
involved?
think-
Stuff like that. I'm not getting into that.
Even if
yeah.
you feel that your vote doesn't matter, I think you made a great point. There's more than just office like positions up for a vote, and so I think it is your responsibility to put a say in the other, like the propositions and things like that. Exercise your right, because this is the thing, like people that say, oh, my vote doesn't matter, and they don't do it, but if it were to be taken away from them, they would be like, oh, like that's my right, like, but it's like you never did it, so
Just the way you said that.
it's
I'm voting Steven for mayor of Chino.
so
He lives in.
He lives in. Oh yeah,
I wouldn't be able to run for the mayor.
Damn it.
And I wouldn't run for mayor because I was dumb when I was younger. So
Yeah. Another thing too, I always felt like mayor positions are probably the most like paper job title positions, because I don't feel like they do a whole lot. But they probably do in some cities, but I feel like in
I was
others.
gonna say you'll be surprised, Brian.
Yeah. Thank you for educating me.
Yeah.
That's tight. Steven just put Brian on game.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
He's like, I don't vote.
I think voting matters.
Do you have your green card?
Ew.
Okay. Ah.
Yeah. I mean, I basically agree with everything Brian said as far as the voting matter. And even in a state like California where we were not going to really move the needle in either direction, I still vote in the big elections too, just because, I'm doing my part at the end of the day. At the very least, it's the least I can do. You know what I mean? So as a citizen, I think it's the least someone can do.
There's also like a social aspect of it too. Like you're kind of like part of something when you like, even though we might not move a needle, like you said, like if you voted for Obama and you could say like, well, I voted for Obama, that's
Yeah.
a social thing you could claim, you know, unless you want to lie about it, like, oh, I deep down voted for somebody else, but then you could just tell people you voted for Obama, like who's really gonna check? But and it's also good for family functions to get really intense.
Yeah.
It's like people say, don't talk about politics at the family dinner table, and Brian's like, yeah, do it. He's like, this.
Brian-
He's like, this
Brian
dinner's
wants to-
boring, and
Yeah.
then he just throws out fucking 2 or 3 political statements. Or
Brian wants to see some conflict at the holidays coming up.
oh, Brian, okay, no, I don't want to get too personal, but the whole you're a Trump supporter. How your mom thought you were a Trump supporter.
Yeah, so
oh, this is
so like you guys know for a while that like at least since 2016, right? I'm not. Like if you asked me before, then I would have been like, I have no opinions on Donald Trump.
Yeah. You know, at least ever since he started running, I'm not.
Yeah, so but yeah, then like one day like my girlfriend's talking to my mom, and then my mom's like, yeah, Brian's like, this is around the impeachment stuff, so like, Brian must be really upset, because you know, and I was like, why would I be upset? And she's like, well, Brian's always saying, you know, make America great again. And I was like, what?
dude. She has to be hearing you play Fortnite, dude.
Yeah. I'm like, did I ever make a joke while we were playing Fortnite or something?
Yeah, dude. We always crack jokes. What are you talking about? Don't believe the liberal media. You know, make America great again. Like
The joke's out of context, basically. Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, it's hilarious. But yeah, I think that's it for today. We covered everything except for me opening a TikTok account and Steven's soundboard. But yeah, that's about it.
Well, we'll get those thing going. Did you actually did you make the account already
Yeah.
for TikTok? Oh.
no.
Hit us with a soundboard, Steven.
Are you
No.
are you gonna put TikToks on the awkward side hug?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this.
No.
Dope.
That hurt Steven's soul right there.
Oh, it hurts.
As much as I hate to see it, I'm gonna love to see it too.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, same.
It's gonna be awkward.
It's content.
For our 10 followers.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, it's gonna be awkward.
Where was that kiss going? I did this.
It's spread into like 3 different pieces. Well, Fortnite or homework in Fortnite?
Yeah,
Renee.
maybe I do my homework when I die.
Yes. So Fortnite?
Dies in real life or what?
And then I do my homework in heaven.
Oh, let's do this.
All right. Fortnite.
Bye, guys. Bye.